What is up? Live from Grant's recording studio, actually. Here I am in a different section. I'm sure you noticed some of these things on the wall here. Got my guy Ryan with me. We are here for a full context camp report, live in the action. We're going to talk about a lot, and we're going to do it all next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. You got Jesse and you got Ryan here. Ryan, what is good, my dude? I just saw you like 2 hours ago at camp. So I'm not even going to act like we haven't seen each other today because we definitely did. But how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. You know what's weird is like I've been talking to you for, I don't know, close to a year.
Yeah.
And seeing you today, it was like I've known you for a long time. It didn't feel like I was first meeting you. It felt like we already knew each other. And same goes with everybody. We saw Raj and Ted H and Rohan and Crocker and who else am I missing? But we saw a lot of people. It felt like,
Brad,
they're
we
all
saw
just
Brad.
saying,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I didn't get to see Brad. I know you saw him, but I didn't get to see him. But yeah, it's just like seeing it's just like we know each other already, even though we're first seeing each other for the first time in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a lot of fun. We're going to see each other again tomorrow. I know you're at camp tomorrow, and then I think that's your last day, and I'll be there the next few days after that. But yes, for the people that are asking, I said it in the beginning, I'll say it again. Yes, I'm in Grant's. This is Grant's recording area. I'm in a different section of it, but
right.
live from Grant's basement.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right.
I'm in a hotel in the Bay Area right now. So
Hey, there you go.
Wife's sleeping over there.
Nice. All right, listen, there's a lot to talk about. Before we get to the quarterback stuff, though, I do want to get your opinion on a couple of other players that may have stood out to you, good or bad, today. I know that I put out my instant reaction, so if you've watched that, you're going to know who my guys are. But for you, who are the people that stood out to you, good or bad, non-quarterback?
So a couple guys. Not that I got to see him do much, but McKivic's. I didn't get to see him do much, but just looking at him compared to, just in person, he looked like a specimen. I'm gonna be real, man. Like he's pretty built, and it was good to see. I didn't picture him in my head as that big, so that was good to see. But really, the guy that flashed for me above all others, non-quarterback wise, was and I won't say Aiyuk. I feel like that's obviously
that's the easy pickings. Yeah,
Aiyuk's dominating the whole camp, but Drake Jackson, man, I feel like a lot of the fans are wondering why we're not adding another defensive end in the mix. And my feeling was this because they believe in Drake Jackson. And today I'm starting to see why, man. He had the best play, and sorry I'm talking too much, but the best play to me from him was they ran a wheel route from Mitchell. So Drake Jackson had to cover Mitchell in coverage. And I'm not talking like a 5-yard route. I'm talking like at least 15, 20 yards downfield. Trey Lance honestly threw the perfect pass. It was right in the bread box for Mitchell. Had Drake Jackson not been back there covering him like a DB with the best coverage you can possibly have. So it was a good pass, but amazing defense. And then he got a tip down on another tip ball on Trey Lance. Which is good. I think Drake Jackson is going to be a factor this year, dude.
He's definitely going to be a factor. We could not believe it. So we're all sitting there, and there's like 4 or 5 of us content creators. And it was nice to be with the other content creators. And I'll tell you why in a little bit when I'm giving some context. But we all look at each other, we're like, was that Drake Jackson in coverage? Like, we had to all double take. And we're asking each other, was that Drake? Because you're right. It wasn't like a lot of times a defensive end will peel back. He'll be in zone and he'll just kind of like drop into coverage and sometimes, make a play. No, he turned and ran from the line of scrimmage, 20, 25 yards downfield in coverage, made the perfect play. I mean, dude, it was incredible. This guy is an athlete, and we knew he was an athlete, but that's a whole different level, which also goes to show you why it's important to have two really good tackles on your team. And we'll see what McKivitz is or is not. I agree. Physically, he was definitely impressive. It was hard to tell who was who when the plays were going because they changed things up so much. But so I couldn't get a lot of eyes on McKivitz. But Drake Jackson, that was a massive play. And then you're right. The batted ball, man, he was all over the place. And the 49ers have money. They certainly can spend that money. A lot of people are saying they need another defensive lineman, specifically an edge, probably more for depth. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were worried about what's going to happen opposite of Bosa, if today was any indication, Drake Jackson's that deal. You should be very, very excited about Jackson. And I know that you touched on Aiyuk, but Aiyuk's an absolute cheat code, man. That is unfair. Whoever is guarding him, that dude's wide open almost every play, 2-3 yards, nobody even close to him. He's looking really, really good. It seems like if everybody, let's say you're trying to gauge where everybody's at, if he's at 100, I mean, everybody else is like 80, which they should be. You know, they're still ramping up. They're trying to get ready for pad day. This dude's at 100, play in and play out. Brandon Aiyuk is extremely, extremely impressive.
And he was wide open like every time. Nobody can come close to him. And I think a lot of his passes, no one who was guarding him. I mean, it's not like I don't think Ward matched up with him very often. I think it was a lot of like second string corners that were trying to guard this guy, and there's nobody around him at all. And when he caught the ball, he just kept running. There was no one near Aiyuk. Aiyuk is unstoppable this year. He's definitely a cheat code for any quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a couple super chats here over on your channel. So the coach says, "My guys, let's go." What's up, coach? And then Matt says, "Kept my promise. Bold prediction: Drake, Hargrave, Kinlaw, Bosa, our best front four this year. Keep up the good work, boys." So nice, good to see you, Matt. Appreciate you for tapping in, man.
And Kinlaw's massive. Speaking of Kinlaw.
Oh, I mean, he's a physical specimen also.
Shit.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. Brother Bob says, "Daps fella, all-star squad. When you can, let us know how the tight ends and DBs looked. Plus, what coach impressed you the most today? Go Niners." This is okay. I think this is a great question, but George Kittle looked fine. None of the other tight ends did a darn thing. The DBs honestly, today it was a full offensive day. There was one pass breakup. It was, I don't know if I got who it was, but
Kyle was having problems with the DBs, but that's about it.
That's about it. No, Darnold threw a pass in the end zone and it was tipped away. And I forget who it was in coverage. I don't even know if I got it necessarily. Let's see, red zone. Trying to look through my notes, but that was a good play. Good breakup there. And then I would say that was really it. And I honestly couldn't even tell you who it was. I don't remember, and I apologize. Everything's happened very, very quickly out there. So, but yeah, either way, the DBs and tight ends, you didn't really see a lot from them. I think when pads go on, things will be a little bit different, but you know, we'll see how that whole thing plays out for sure.
I didn't notice anything from any tight end at all, except for Kittle. To open up practice, that pass was amazing. That was a great catch. But yeah, no, I didn't see anything from any tight end. And keep in mind, it's Jesse and I first time going there. There's so much to look at. There's 90 freaking guys out there. It's tough. Like half the time you don't know who's who. But it was an awesome experience. And, you know, I think I can't speak for Jesse, but for me, I was really focused on the quarterbacks today. That was my main thing I was focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously things happen around it. You see things happen. Is there anybody bad that stood out to you today, though? Non-quarterback wise?
Non-quarterback bad. Well, I will say that what's his name? And I'm pulling for him because I've seen a lot of good from him. But Quantrez Knight, man, it got dusted when Kyle Shanahan was playing quarterback by a ball boy, basically. Like literally like a ball boy was running routes, I think, on Quantrez Knight. Kyle Shanahan was quarterback. Kyle hit him in the corner. Quantrez got completely shook. I'm sorry, Quantrez, but that was bad, man. You had the whole fans reacting to you getting shook by the ball boy. So I'm pulling for you, man. I hope you do better next time. But that is a guy that stood out like, damn, dude, you just got killed. And then Jordan Mason, man, he had one fumble at least.
2 fumbles.
2 fumbles. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he looked good when he was running the ball, but you can't fumble twice
Yeah.
like that. And he had a fumble a couple practices ago. So that's 3 fumbles in training camp for Jordan Mason.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Mason was the one for me. He had the one up the right sideline. A lot of people were asking questions like, "Oh, was he trying to slow down?" I didn't see it like that. It looked to me like he was getting towards the sideline and was looking to maybe keep it upfield. But as he was kind of getting towards the sideline to either go out or get upfield, whatever he was planning on doing, the ball got poked out from behind. And then later on, it was a clear. I mean, no, everybody saw this one, and I'm sure counted it as a fumble. So, yeah, I had it as 2 fumbles. That wasn't good at all. So he's got to figure this out. He's really got to figure out a way to not let go of the ball. And to your point, that was his 3rd fumble of camp. So that's a big deal. Real
Kyle
big
does
deal.
not like that. I can tell you that much right now. So
No.
Jordan Mason's got to figure that out, or TDP could move up on Mason. TDP looks pretty good. And then even my guy, I can't think of his name right now. Laburn. Laburn looked pretty good too. So Jordan Mason's got to tighten it up and right away. No more fumbles, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Niner Matt must have been on Twitter because he caught my best content of the day, which was my charting of the throws of Kyle Shanahan. So
Yeah.
if anybody wants to check that out, if you want to know how Shanahan was on his 7-on-7 drill today, he went 1 of 5 with 2 picks and a dropped interception. So, Shanahan, there's going to be some film to watch for sure. But
Yeah.
he says, "Yo, Jesse, even though Shanny was 1 of 5, I heard he threw the ball far today. So that's got to be a win, right?" Yeah, it was actually pure nice. I like good.
That's
Nice
hilarious.
job, Matt. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But either way, it was all red zone drills for Kyle. Not the best day for Shanahan. We'll see how he is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Greg T says the best part of being with other content creators. Oh, the best part by far just being able to bounce things off of them. I mean, there was multiple times where I turned to the right or the left of me and was like, "Okay, before I say anything, give me your opinion because I want to make sure I'm thinking through this right." So, and we'll talk about those things, but that was probably my favorite part for sure.
Yeah, for me too, because I was actually, but thank God you and Rohan were there because I'm like, I was just so like focused in on just I was watching, and then I would ask you guys, okay, who caught that? Who threw that? You guys are keeping track, so that's great to work as a team in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. There's little things that everybody caught that it kind of brought the whole picture together in a lot of these situations. So let's talk about that for a second. I actually want to get into context before we talk about quarterbacks. So in this, I don't know about you, Ryan, and maybe today I'll have to talk to Grant about it because he would obviously know better. He's been doing camp forever.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest things that I noticed was they rotate players in and out of the lineup like crazy.
Yeah.
Like constantly. So Trey takes first team reps, but the receivers are rotating out after every play. Run or pass, by the way. They have a run or a pass. Receivers rotate out, fullback, running back, tight ends, if they're on the field, they all rotate in and out. New packages come in, new players. Defense, everybody's rotating in and out. So it's great to say, hey, this was first team reps from Trey Lance today. And he was the first one on the field. He was the first one going through his drills. When they did the drills, if that means anything for people, he was the first one to take the snap every time through. Same thing when they went to 11 on 11s. It was all 11 on 11 today, no 7 on 7. But I was kind of surprised. Like when it's being reported, the vibe that I always got was, oh, it's first team versus first team. And then the second string quarterback comes in, and it's second string versus second string. That is not at all what it was like. I mean, I think I counted, and I misspoke in my first report, but Debo was on the field for 1 play with Trey Lance. Aiyuk was on the field for 2, but one of the throws. He was on the field for the very first play, but it was a handoff, so I guess I don't really count that. But for 2 of his throws, he had either Debo or Aiyuk on, and then they weren't on the field the rest of the time. So I thought that was interesting. Even Kyle Allen, is the quote unquote third string. He was playing with first string guys, and he was playing against first string guys sometimes. Yeah. It just depended on how the rotation went. So I thought that was good. And the other thing is this, a lot of people wonder how content creators and reporters have different numbers because things happen so quickly. It's very, very easy to count things differently, and I'll get into that a little bit more as when we get to the quarterbacks. But
Yeah.
I can see why there's some differences, which for me is really good to actually be there, taking notes, bouncing ideas off of people, because now this is the context that I did not know, did not see, and really haven't heard. And so I thought it would be cool to share with people, because I mean, as somebody who's watching other people's content and hanging on every tweet or every video that they put out, I think these things are very, very important to recognize as you go through things. And like I said, I'll get a little bit deeper on context when we talk about the quarterbacks here. But for me, that was a big, big takeaway. You agree? You disagree? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you would think it was more like, okay, this is the first team. Okay, bring in the second
Yeah.
team. And it's more just like rotations individually at each position. So maybe the wide receivers will, rotate 3 guys at each position. Tight ends might rotate 3 guys at each position. They might rotate, 2 or 3 left tackles, and it's not all in sync. It's not like first team's in, second team's in, third team's in. Really what it is a pecking order. And one thing that I think, people need to realize too, we hear the narrative that the 49ers are out on Trey Lance, and maybe they are. I don't know. But what I do know is that minicamp, OTAs, and training camp, whenever Brock Purdy's not there, he's the first guy out there. So I think 49er fans should hear that, because there seems to be a narrative that they're really out on him. And maybe they are. Maybe they're doing it for a different reason. But I can tell you, I'm talking about warm-ups, passing drills, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, 7-on-7, 11-on-11. If Brock Purdy's not there, Trey Lance is the first one to go. So I don't know if that means anything to you guys, but I thought it was important context.
Yeah, for sure. And, maybe that's just a today thing. I don't know if I'll get another day with I think I'll get possibly one more day. I was a little surprised that Brock wasn't there, because I know
Yeah.
they said 2 practices on and 1 off, but I was like, oh, after an off day, that'll be like the off, right? And then so
Right.
he can go. So I was a little surprised. So the way it should pan out, if they're going to continue that, is there's going to be padded practice on tomorrow and Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
no practice Wednesday. Well, if the third practice falls on Thursday, then I would assume that he wouldn't be there again if they're going to keep this same rotation. And so I'll be interested to see on Thursday if that's the case. If it's Sam or Trey during some of the warm-up stuff, it could have just been today. I have no idea. You know what I mean? I'm just going off of what I saw. So I think all those things are important. Before we get to the full quarterback talk, I'm going to go through these super chats real quick.
Cool.
Johnny Hill says, was at training camp today and thought Trey looked great. Definitely think he can continue to play like that in stack days. I love the stack days. It can be a real quarterback 1 competition. Yeah, I don't know about competition for quarterback 1. I mean, to me, it seems like they're all in on Brock, but I thought Trey looked good. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, like, is he going to look bad? Is there going to, and I'm like analyzing everything. How do his mechanics look? Are the passes wobbly? All the things that you see and hear, and, can he make the easy passes? All of those things I'm looking for. So I was definitely dialed in on the quarterbacks more so than anything, but there are things that just happen. Woolmack's a great example, and I didn't see it today, but I talk about him and how he flashes in games, even on special teams. You may not be focused in on that player, but sometimes something happens and you're like, whoa, that was Drake Jackson today for sure. And so he definitely stood out. But yeah, I agree. I thought Trey played plenty fine. Knees said, plot twist, the ball boy was Kyle's kid. Knight trying to suck up and stay out of everybody's doghouse. Yeah, maybe that was the case.
It might have been. He was throwing his kids out there. I noticed. I think I'm assuming they're Kyle's kids, but he was throwing to them. There's 2 boys out there, look kind of like Kyle. They were out there a lot, so it could have
absolutely
been. Yeah,
absolutely. 49ers daddy says, any chance Purdy gets less quarterback 1 snaps with Trey Lance or Sam Darnold? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, the every third day or every third practice thing, they're going to get their snaps for sure without Brock Purdy there. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him on the field. I would assume that he gets the first team snaps. I'm also curious to see, like, when pads go on, if the rotation continues the way that it is today, where they're in and out. Now you've got them wearing pads in the heat. That might be a lot to get people in and out every play. I don't know. Or if it's just going to be full first team, full second team, that type of stuff.
I want to see, like, when Brock's in, is it straight team 1? Like, is Aiyuk
straight to,
Debo in every time? I mean, let's see how that works tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask Grant here after I get done streaming, just if that's the way it has been the whole time. And then they may change it up for pads. That's the hard part is like today was no pads. Tomorrow was the first day of pads. And so the whole how they do things can completely change. And then, now that context is different. So
Yeah.
I'll do my best to give you guys, little nuggets like that, little pieces of context as I go along. Ink Talk TV says, what's popping with the Niner population? How are my guys doing on this Sunday? Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Honestly, I thought it was a weekday. I'm kind of lost traveling East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
all right. Giants Niner fan, what's up, bud? He says, welcome to the Trey area, Jesse. Love the fresh takes today. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sure people are out there that hate my takes. Here's the other thing, too. I don't know about you, Ryan. Yeah. I haven't looked at anybody's stuff. I've looked at 0 tweets from people, like what they had for completions, what they didn't have. I haven't watched anybody's videos. Like I literally, here's how it happened. We write things down as we go. Boom, 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 boom. End of training camp comes or end of the day comes. I meet up with a couple of content creators. I know you left, whatever. Ride the shuttle back. As soon as I get back, I set up my stuff so I can record, edit the video, upload the video, and then immediately plug Grant's address in my GPS and head here, and then had to set everything up. So I haven't had time to look at anybody's stuff, which I like actually, because now I'm just giving you full opinion. There's no echo chamber. Nothing. Yeah. I'm curious to see what Grant thought of the day, what Lombardi and all of them. I love to look at that stuff, but I'm not going to do it before I go live because I really want to give you my full opinion and I don't want it to be influenced at all. So whether it agrees or disagrees, I couldn't tell you.
And it gives you like a new respect for guys like Grant because this is a full day thing. I'm not talking like 8 hours. If he's coming, if he's doing what he does, go there, go to the interview, go to the press conference, come home, make a video, go live. I mean, you're talking an entire day. So definitely it's a lot involved. And that's why I haven't been able to check out anybody's stuff at all either. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. I would imagine that all of them are in the same boat every day. So you're getting their real opinion as well. I think it'll be interesting because this is like a week of me being like a full-time content creator, right? I don't have my actual job or my kids or nothing. So I'm curious to see like how worn out I am, how much is the grind really for a content creator? I'm not quite sure, but
right.
The coach says, that's right, fellas, give the true context of what actually is happening. Paint the picture for us. Put us in the room. We are depending on your eyes. Thank you, coach, because that's the way that I am when I'm on the other side. Like, I want to know as much as possible. And I want honesty. Like, if you don't know something, you don't know. And I understand that because things happen so fast. Players are in and out. I would love to tell you, hey, these were the 11 players on the field versus these 11 players. That is impossible. All I know is offensively and defensively, today at least, everybody was rotating in and out like crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's impossible to fully know who's going against who and when.
Yeah, and I updated Coach on the way home, my drive home back from Santa Clara. I told Coach what I saw at least. Yeah. What's up, Coach?
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So Greg T says, what does Coach K do before, during, and after plays? He's buried into his play sheet. I noticed that there was one play that Trey I think it was the Mitchell. I don't want to speak out of turn. I want to say it was the throw to Mitchell with Drake Jackson covering him. He looked over the sideline like, hey, was it good? Was it bad? And Kyle's like head buried in the play sheet. So he's he's all about his plays.
And what I noticed about Kyle too, man, is when they're not doing 11 on 11s, he's somewhere else. He's not with the quarterbacks. He's like working with the defense or something else.
Talking to Debo, throwing to his kids, like
throwing to his kids, talking to Debo. He was joking with Debo for a while there. I saw they have a good relationship. I saw him messing around with Debo, talking to John Lynch, and then the only time he was really dialed into what the quarterbacks and the offense was doing is during the 11 on 11 drills.
Yeah, absolutely. Double B Studio says Drake Jackson for CB in 2023. Yeah, maybe. My goodness. Yeah, he is. Flav says Grant said after Trey fumbled the snap, he looked at Kyle like a kid looking to his father for approval. Isn't that disrespectful, Jess? Trey is an adult.
Here's the
I don't
thing.
know.
Let me speak on that, Flav. I think the difference between Grant making comments about a guy who's been, defending for a long time versus a guy like you who's constantly ripping the guy over and over all day long. That's your entire Twitter thread. I think it's different, right? Like Jesse and
About the
me are friends.
context, right?
Yeah, Jesse
Context.
and me are friends, right? He could come make a joke about me, insult me, and I'm not going to take it the same way as if my enemy out there is doing it on a regular basis. So
That's
hopefully
a
that makes
very good point. Very good point. I'm going to talk about that snap fumble here in a minute as well when we're talking about context as well. Fair the Great says all context does matter. Sometimes it feels like things are forgotten or purposefully omitted. Like, is it too much to keep up with an even bias? Good to hear you provide context different than others. I appreciate that, man. This is my first day, so I'm not going to pretend to be perfect. I'm not trying to bash anybody else either because I haven't been there. I just want to provide something that I haven't seen from anybody else. And again, that could be because it's just today. I don't know. I'm just giving you what I saw and things that I would find as important if I was watching myself. So that's what I'm trying to give you. I appreciate that you like it. Johnny says definitely believe Purdy is still QB1, but if he has any setbacks with his recovery and Trey can keep it up, they shouldn't hesitate to go with him. Oh, I agree. I mean, Sam Darnold shouldn't be like truly competing with Trey, in my opinion, but maybe he is. Let's see. Gammon. I'm gonna get to these last two, and if you guys comment more, we'll get to those later. But I want to get to the quarterback stuff. So Gammon says, spin your camera in your rooms. Y'all are acting like you're single. Where are all those women hiding at in the rooms? Well, I'm in Grant's house, so the only woman here is his wife, and
she's
you are
sleeping
with your
with her
wife, so
headphones on.
there.
Yeah. She's sleeping with her headphones on right now, man. So
Yeah,
she
there
doesn't
you
know what's
go.
going on. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's actually happening. Cinnamon Kiss says, I'm late. Has Trey lost his confidence? If so, can he get it back? He didn't look unconfident to me. I didn't see now I know that the body language thing was big, and I was looking for that because it sounds like his body language was pretty poor the other day.
I didn't see
And
that.
I'm big on those little things, those little nuances, body language, facial expression. Like I really try to look for those things because they mean a lot to me. That a lot of those things are leadership things for me and what I would take away from my employees. I would really pay attention to their body language when I would, talk to them or coach them and how they would react and point it out if I felt like it was an issue. So definitely something I was looking for. I didn't see any poor body language from him today.
Can I say too that there's a difference between, wanting to be perfect and not being confident. I think there's a difference there. And I think Trey being mad at himself for missing a wide open pass, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I wasn't at camp, I didn't see it, but that's what it sounds like to me. He missed a wide open pass and he was really down about it. Or I don't know. They just say he didn't look confident. I didn't see that from Trey Lance at all, and I was really looking. So today I didn't see any bad body language, any confidence issue. I didn't see that at all. And I don't know. It's good to be here. I'll put it that way because I like to see these things for myself.
Yeah, for sure. And just because we saw something different today also didn't mean that it didn't
Doesn't
happen,
mean it
right?
didn't happen.
So
Yeah.
right. Okay, let's talk about QBs. And I actually want to get a little bit more into the context as we have this conversation. But Flav had asked about the fumble. I don't know if Grant counted it as a fumble or how he looked at it, but so there were a couple plays that we should talk about, and maybe there's going to be a discrepancy when it comes to the reporting of these plays. And I guess, I understand why that could be the case. So 4 plays stood out to me. One, Sam Darnold, the very, very first throw he got sacked. To me, I thought it was a clear sack. There was 3 potential sacks today. That was the most clear of them all. He was clearly sacked. He then threw a pass and completed it. So maybe, when I look at it, I have Sam Darnold 7 of 9, 3 touchdowns, 1 bad throw. And maybe I could see where somebody would have him possibly 8 of 10. Maybe they count the sacks. I don't know. There was another play later where they were in the red zone period. Sam Darnold potentially got sacked. I don't remember if it was I can't remember if it was a touchdown throw or just a completion, but as a group, we all thought that it was not a sack, but it was very close. So I could understand why maybe somebody wouldn't count that one. We counted that completion. Trey Lance had a rushing touchdown. He scrambled out left, broke the pocket, scrambled out left. And on that one in particular, I looked at Rohan and the other three that were there, and I go, "What are your thoughts?" Before I gave him an opinion, because I was like, I don't want to be that dude right now. Like, I counted it as a touchdown. I didn't think it was a sack, but it was very, very close. So I was like, "What are your thoughts?" And they all were like, "No, we think he broke containment before the sack would have gotten there." I'm like, okay, so I didn't count that as a sack. Yeah. And if they all three had disagreed with me, I'd have been like, all right, maybe that's my bias. Like, I want Trey to do well. Obviously, that shouldn't surprise anybody. But I
didn't think it was that close. If I'm being honest, Jess, I think it was scramble touchdown. It wasn't even that close to me. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, but I thought it was close enough that I had to ask. And if those three had disagreed, I'd be like, okay, maybe I saw it differently. Yeah. So those are things that we saw. And then also, Trey Lance there was 2 false starts that happened in a row, either false starts or offsides. They didn't really say, they just kind of throw the flag on the field. Yeah. One of them was a fumbled snap from Trey Lance. To me, it looked like the center double clutch. So I thought that was a false start. Could be wrong, but there was a penalty. So I didn't count that as a fumble.
Yeah.
And then the very next play, he completed a pass and they threw the flag on that one as well, called that a false start or offsides. And so I didn't count that as a completion because to me, that's a dead play. Yeah. So I say all of that to say, if you're looking at other people's numbers, that's how you can see, instead of Sam Darnold being 7 of 9, you could either have him anywhere from 6 and 8 to 8 and 10, depending on how you counted those plays. Trey Lance, you could have him with 1 touchdown you could have him 5 of 8. Really, if you wanted to count the pass after the false start or whatever it was, or you could have him 4 of 7 with 2 touchdowns. There's so many different ways you can go with it, and it all comes down to what you think happened, what your eyes are telling you. So I just want to put that out there, because I'm sure that I'm just like everybody on the other side. If you're not there, you're listening to everybody's reports, right? Yeah. What did this guy say? What did he say? Why is there discrepancy? And what happens is, and I want to be clear about this too, what happens is, there are certain people in the community that are like Purdy guys or Trey guys, right? And so what you end up doing inevitably is you're like, they're just trying not to give the full context because they hate this guy. Yeah, maybe that could be possible. I get that, but
there's some of that going on.
Yeah. But listen, when Purdy's 2 of 9 and they say it's a good day, okay, yeah. I understand that, but but if you have somebody saying, hey, Trey Lance only completed 4 passes out of his 7, and then somebody else is like, oh no, he was 5 of 8 or 5 of 7. That's how those things happen. So I want to provide that as well, because I think it's very, very important to talk about that. Yeah. And again, if I'm putting myself on the other side, I would love to hear these things. What do you think?
So to go further onto that, I've noticed that some people are showing the stats. Trey Lance did okay, but he missed a wide open Debo for a touchdown. He did. Sam Darnold missed one with a very bad throw. Brandon Allen had 2 awful throws, right? So I counted 1 bad pass for Trey Lance, at least 1. There might have been 2 for Darnold, but at least 1.
I only saw 1. I only saw 1 from Darnold.
Okay, so 1 bad from Darnold, 1 bad from Trey Lance, 2 bad for Brandon Allen, who only threw 5 passes. So it's more important to me. Go ahead. We say something.
The other one that you had from Darnold, I think, was the where he threw it in the end zone and the DB was right there. The DB broke on the play. It was a high throw. It wouldn't have been caught either way, but I didn't count it as a bad throw. And again, this is the right. We sat right next to each other, right? So here's the context we're talking about. Yeah. Ryan says, hey, it could. He didn't say it was, but he said, hey, I could possibly give him 2 bad throws. And I'm saying, no, I wouldn't, because the way that I saw it was DB broke on the receiver. To me, if it was a perfect throw, DB gets his hand in there and it's probably broken up. Yeah. He threw it high, yes, and it was incomplete and not catchable. But also because the DB's right there, do you really want him to try to fit it in the tightest coverage? And what if it gets picked? What if it gets tipped in the air? To me, I would rather see him throw it high, and maybe his receiver can go up and get it and make a spectacular play. And if he's not, there's no harm there. Like, to me, that was a good decision. Maybe not the best throw, but the decision, I give an A+ effort on that one. So
Well, I'm wondering how much of that was intentional, because it seems like most of Darnold's passes are
for
high,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk caught at least 2 of them that he had to leave the ground to get.
True.
I noticed. So I don't know. You could be right, but I know. But the point is that Trey Lance had a bad throw. Darnold had a bad throw. Brandon Allen had at least 2 bad throws. But all you hear is Trey Lance missed a wide open. That's all that's being reported by some people. So I do find that interesting, man, to just go on further to what you were talking about.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what the hell everybody else is saying yet, but I'm
I just
sure
saw it. Yeah.
listen, I'm sure that that's happening. But either way, again, that's context that I definitely want to provide before we get into it. So, okay,
Yeah.
I'll give the raw numbers. Trey Lance, 4 of 7. I had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. He had one really good throw. I thought it was the best throw of the day. Rohan, who was next to me, Ted Talks, and Raj were boom, boom, boom. I was like, ooh, that was a good throw. And they all three immediately were like, that's the throw of camp so far. So they all thought, they've been there every day. I haven't. I've just been there today. I thought it was the throw of the day, but they said they thought it was the throw of the camp, for whatever that is worth to you. Great throw up the left sideline to George Kittle. Dropped it in over a DB. Safety was coming over.
Yeah.
Kittle was
right.
able to protect,
was
would have been
perfect.
able to protect himself as well.
Yeah, and I had it 35 yards. I know some people said it was like 20. I thought I was being modest because it looked like more like 40 to me, but I marked it as 35 yards.
Hold on. Let me tell you what I had it as. Hold on.
Yeah.
35 yards is what I put down as well.
So right between the safety and the DB, perfect ball placement. Like, he just didn't have to break stride at all. All he had to do was do this, and it just dropped. Yep. Safety's hands right here, DB on this side. It was the perfect pass, right on the money. And that was definitely the best play of the camp. But I think he had the second best pass today as well. The one up.
We'll talk about that. You talk about that in a second, but I'm assuming the Conley one, the one there. So I actually thought Sam had the second best pass, and I'll get into that in a second. But so he had that one there. His worst pass by far was red zone period, rolling out to his right. Debo is running like an out pattern, and
You're right.
As he's throwing it, he airmails it over his head, out of bounds. Luckily, it's not like the ball was in harm's way, but should have been completed for sure. Like, he should have had that completion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I told Coach he was stationary, and I forgot it was a rollout.
No, he was rolling right.
And then he stayed up after practice to work on that specific thing. I noticed that too. But that was it. Seemed like it was outside and high. He should have hit that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, Trey. So Trey. Actually, all three quarterbacks stayed after. I didn't really see Sam throwing, but he was kind of out there with him. Trey was working on rollouts to the right and throwing that. And then Allen, who I'll get to in a minute, was working on deep passes down the left sideline, which was a play he missed in practice as well. So it's actually cool to see right there live when players make mistakes, and then they recognize that and say, I gotta fix that. So they go work on it. So shout out to both of them, Allen as well. Because he had a bad miss at the left sideline. Okay, so Sam Darnold, I had 7 of 9, 3 touchdowns. 2 of them came in the red zone period. One of them was a 15-yard slant from the 50-yard line to Aiyuk, and Aiyuk just outran everybody. It was an incredible play by Aiyuk. Good throw by Darnold as well. He had one bad throw. He was stationary on his, if I remember correctly, similar to the out pattern that Debo had, but it was to Kittle. And I mean, he missed him like 2 yards to the right. It was awful. Both his was awful. Trey's was awful. Both of those were really, really bad misses. Just as equally as bad. Trey's was high and his was off to the right. So both of them have got to complete that. Yeah.
Sorry, man. Can we say this though? Like, that's normal. These people are not robots. They're going to make bad passes. But for whatever reason, a lot of Trey Lance's stuff is reported excessively and blown up out of proportion, but all these quarterback missed throws. Every quarterback in the NFL misses throws.
Yeah, absolutely. Allen, I thought, had the second best throw of the day. He was rolling to his right. Aiyuk kind of broke off his route and was going along the back of the end zone. It was kind of, just to paint the picture for everybody, think Seattle. Brock Purdy played Aiyuk. Similar, not as dynamic, right? Like, Purdy ran all the way left and then all the way right. It was just a bootleg, but he gets all the way to his right. Ayuk's wide open in the back corner of the end zone, but he had to put it in a good spot. Like, even though he was open, like nobody was really that close behind him, he still had to get it up over defenders' heads and drop it in the breadbasket. And I thought that was a really good throw on the move, especially because it was on the move by Darnold. So I thought that was to me was the second best throw of the day.
That was a good throw. I like.
Yeah.
You bring it up, and it was a really good throw. I just thought Trey's like he's throwing to Chris Conley.
Yeah.
A seam route, and it was at least 20 yards. I don't know if it was red zone or not, but I know
it was red zone, 20 yards. Yeah.
20 yards. Yeah. And he hit him right in the middle of the end zone, right in stride. And it was a laser. It was a nice pass. There's a lot of heat on it. And he's passing to Chris Conley. So extra credit for that, man. I thought it was
that's true.
That was my second best, but I knew what you're talking about Darnold as far as Darnold goes. One thing I did walk away from this, I know we got more to go over, but one thing I did walk away from this with was Darnold's good, man. Like, he's a good quarterback. He's a lot better than I thought. He does have a lot of arm talent, but there's a lot of context to this, and I'm sure we're going to get to it as far as his throws. Are we breaking down all Darnold's throws right now? Because
Let me get to Allen, and then I gave a lot of context on my stuff. Why don't you give the context of what you want to talk about? I'm just going to get to Allen real quick because he did throw. He was 3 of 5. He had a touchdown. He had 2 throws that he definitely wants back. These were not good throws. So he had somebody, I think it was a drag route. It was about 5 yards, either that or it was an out to the left. And I want to say it was to Willis. He had him if he would have thrown it like right on his hands, but he threw it low and outside, didn't have a chance to really get it. Willis tried to make a great play. It was unable to do so in the red zone. And then he went deep. And I did like that he took a chance. He went deep. He underthrew that ball by 5 yards. I mean, it was there was no mustard on that thing. That thing died on him. Yeah, it wasn't good. So those were his 2 worst throws. He also had a really good throw though, and I want to shout this out. He had a throw in red zone that we were like, ooh, that was good. Definitely, if not the number 3 throw, the 4th throw for sure, where he had 2 defenders. He had a receiver kind of sit down in the middle of the end zone, and 2 defenders were pretty close, and he was able to put it in there. So he actually got some mustard on that one. The deep ball, I don't know what happened there, but I thought that was a really good throw by Brandon Allen as well. So that's what I saw as far as the quarterbacks go. But I know you have some context that you want to provide, kind of based off what we were talking about earlier. But go ahead and break it down real quick.
Yeah. So just some things to this. Stats don't really tell you much, honestly. It's really about. Was it a good throw? Was it a good decision? Was it a bad throw? Was it a bad decision? And then also you have to take into context who's on the field with him. If you're throwing a Chris Conley, is that the same as throwing to Brandon Aiyuk? Clearly, I'm going to say no, it's not. So when it comes to Darnold's completions, 4 of them were to Aiyuk. Now Darnold looked good. Don't get me wrong. But they were to wide open Aiyuk, 4 of them. One of them was more covered than the others, but I feel like the other 3 were wide open. And there 2 of them were a little high, and Aiyuk went up and grabbed them. Great catches. So 4 of Darnold's 7 were to Aiyuk. 1 was to Debo, which is a good pass. And then the other 2 were like 3 yards away behind the line of scrimmage dump offs. So I think it's important to lay out what exactly it is, because when you see 7 to 9, it is good, but I think it's important to know that you're passing to Aiyuk 4 of those, and 2 of them were just straight dump offs that anybody watching this show right now could throw. So I think that's important.
Well, and I want to talk about, there was a series where it was on the second install. So they're at the 50-yard line. They ran, so Darnold's out there, 3 straight slants, okay? Aiyuk, and Debo. Mm-hmm. They were all of these were guarded by the same DB.
Yeah.
He is the world-renowned, you ready? A.J. Parker. And if you don't know who A.J. Parker is, wouldn't surprise me. A.J. Parker was on the Lions last year. I think he was suited up for 3 games and didn't suit up the rest of the season. The season before, he actually started at nickel corner, I believe, for the Lions. They had him playing outside on an island against Aiyuk and Debo, and they 3 plays in a row cooked him. He wasn't within 3-4 yards Darnold definitely, he hit the throws, but I mean, you're talking about elite receivers going up against who knows who, 3 slant routes. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are things that are important to say as well. But I do want to make sure that we are clear. This is context. This is not taken away from what Sam Darnold did. I actually thought Sam Darnold looked good today. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked poised. I think that, like I said, I thought he had the second best throw of the day. I love that throw. So, he had a really, really good day for sure. But if I'm like stacking days and who did better, completion percentage wise, Darnold. Best throw of the day went to Trey. They both were pretty good overall. So I don't know. You tell me.
Let me ask you this. You're a quarterback, right? You're a quarterback for the 49ers. You want to make the team. After watching what you watched today, whose role would you have rather played in this training camp from an opportunity standpoint? Would you rather have the opportunities Trey had with the people he was throwing to, or would you rather have Darnold's?
I think it depends. If I'm competing for a job, I'd rather have Darnold's. But if I'm the guy, like if I'm the starter, or if it's clear there's a pecking order, like give me some of these backups. I don't mind. Like let's build chemistry within. They may end up playing, or maybe I just want to test myself, against some good defensive players. So it depends. But in this exact scenario, if you're just asking me, like we know the context of what's going on with Trey and Darnold, who would I rather throw to? Like who's going to make you look better? Of course, Debo and Aiyuk are like, yes, of course.
And that's the reason everyone knows I like Trey Lance. And it may sound like excuses to big Brock Purdy supporters right now, or people that don't like Trey Lance or whatever.
But no. Hold on a second. I want to be clear. It's not excuses, and the reason it's not excuses is because we're not coming here and streaming after Trey had a bad day. If Trey had a bad day, and I was sitting up here like, yeah, well, the only reason he had a bad day is because he wasn't throwing to it. He had a good day, but he was also throwing to. So those things matter. So again, pay attention to what's going on. If Trey Lance was 1 of 7 today, and I was like, the only reason he was 1 of 7 is because he didn't get to. Okay, that's some BS, right? Like, come on. I don't care who you're playing with. If you're a professional quarterback and you're fighting for a job, you better do better than 1 of 7. He had a good day.
Well, let's do the misses for Trey Lance, right? There was the one where Drake Jackson broke it up. There was the poorly thrown ball to Debo. What was the third one? What's the third?
The tip pass at the line of scrimmage from Drake.
Oh, the tip pass. Yeah, that. Here's what the context that people need to understand is Drake Jackson tipped a pass at the line of scrimmage. He made a bad throw to Debo, and then the other one was a good throw. Drake Jackson just had to make a good play on it.
Hell of a play.
And that's the negative parts of Trey Lance's thing. But I think it's good to understand this context for people and know that he threw to Aiyuk one time, one attempt to Aiyuk, right?
And did he even have? I don't think he had an attempt to Aiyuk. He had the one to Debo on the out pattern. Aiyuk was on the field for one throw. That was a red zone play. And remember, we're like, oh, this is going to Aiyuk because he had Ambry Thomas on him. But what happened is he broke in for a slant, and the safety was right there. So they basically like double cover. That was the tip one by Drake Jackson.
Right.
So the safety bit down because at that point, Aiyuk had already had 4 touchdowns on the day. Going crazy. You know what I mean? So they're like, screw it. No, we're not doing this again. The last thing we need to do is hear from Brandon Aiyuk. So the safety bit down. They basically double covered Aiyuk. So that wasn't open. So then he switched to throw to Kittle. And as he threw the ball, that's when Drake Jackson got it. So there was one throw to Aiyuk, one to Debo, one throw to Debo, one play where Aiyuk was on the field, 2 plays where he was on the field. One was a handoff, but the other, one throwing play. And that was it. And then he had Kittle on the field. Kittle was on the field quite a bit, actually, for Trey. I felt like his rotation fell on Kittle a lot. Not every play by any means, but I would say probably 4 or 5 out of those 7 attempts, Kittle was on the field. So it's not like he's like out there with zero talent either. I want to be clear. Kittle was also out there rotating through, and he fell on, it seemed like Trey's rotations quite a bit. So.
Right, and I think my point though is it's just not going to be apples to apples. You're not comparing apples to apples. They're different situations, different receivers, and I'm not saying like it's a conspiracy against Trey or anything like that. But I'm just saying that you guys need to know this stuff.
Yeah. No, it is important to know these things. And then but also same way. And this is what we're not seeing. And this is because we don't have time.
Yeah.
When we're watching the quarterbacks, we're focusing in on the receivers. Who's in and out as receivers? I don't know who's in and out as far as linemen go. I don't know if they're playing with the starters or the backups. I don't know because they're rotating also, by the way. I don't know who's in and out for the defense other than like who the ball was caught on. Obviously, okay, well, it was caught on this player, but I mean, for all I know, Trey's playing with second string wide receivers against third string defenses. I don't know. Sam could be playing with first string wide receivers against the first string defense every time. I don't know. You know what I mean? So the point is it all happens so damn fast. And if your expectation is that everybody comes out of training camp with the same exact things, and if they don't, now all of a sudden they have some crazy bias, just think it through, because there's a lot that's happening so much, so fast. It's really, really hard to decipher. So I just want to throw that out there.
My overall take for the quarterbacks was Sam Darnold looked good. Mm-hmm. He made the most of his opportunities.
Yep.
I think Trey Lance did as well. And I was really excited to see that. Mm-hmm. That first play got me really hyped up. First play of all 11 on 11s. Beautiful pass. And then my take on Brandon Allen was one good pass. But other than that, to me, he doesn't look like he's on the level of Sam Darnold and Trey Lance.
There's a clear gap between at least today. But also arm strength. I mean, his ball can die down on him quite a bit. So you watch, you can just see the zip on the ball. Trey and Sam are many levels above. So no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay, I got to get through these super chats because we got 10 minutes and Grant's got to come down here and do his thing. And then you got to go see your sister, I think. So, all right. Cryptic says, love that. Oh, did you have
going to have dinner at my sister's house? Yep.
Okay, there you go. Right on. So Cryptic says, love that football season is back. Just waiting on the breaking news that Bosa is back and is the highest paid defensive end. Please get it done. I actually, and maybe it obviously didn't happen because you said this, but my prediction was Sunday after practice in the press conference, they would announce it because tomorrow's pad day. Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. So maybe they announce it tomorrow. I don't know, but this thing might linger longer than what I expected. Not saying it's not going to get done or there's a reason to panic, but it's lingering a little longer than I expected. Not going to lie.
Yes.
Flav says, sounded like Darnold was the best quarterback on the field for the third straight day. Did Trey bounce any passes today? No, he didn't have anything that I'm sure you probably asked this before.
Trey and Sam had the same amount of bad passes, Flav.
Yeah. You probably caught everything. This might have been a question also before we really went into it. So, but no, he didn't bounce any passes. GTC Real says, how was Trey's footwork? Heard he missed a sure TD that we can't have. Extending the play for me that I want to see, not rushing the gains. Thanks. So by the way, I want to be clear about this too. I don't know what TD he missed. The one to Debo would not have been a touchdown. I don't believe there was players. He was open. I'm not saying I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, he had to throw one in traffic. No, Debo was open, but it was along the sideline and there was a player right there that would have hit Debo if it was a real football.
Goal line play.
He was like, it wasn't on the goal line. It was like 4 or 5 yards out. So I don't know. And his back was turned. So if he caught it, it's not like he was able to get around and would have been able to like make a play in real football. Yeah. We know Debo can break tackles, but it probably would have been like boom, catch, hit from behind. So unless it's a missed tackle, I don't know how Debo scores there. Maybe somebody saw it different. I don't know what other throw he missed that would have been a sure TD. And then the one same thing for Darnold. His wouldn't have been a touchdown either. It was in the red zone, and it was an out to Kittle, but it wouldn't have been a touchdown. So neither one of them missed a touchdown that I saw. I don't know. His footwork, by the way, was fine. He threw spirals all day. I know people worry about that. His mechanics seem to hold up. So the coach says Sam Darnold has 6 camps under his belt. Trust me. He knows how to fool a team before week 1. It's the games I'm focused on. Sam is a vet. Good practices. The least he should do. Being Barley better than Trey Lance ain't good in my opinion. Oh, barely. Sorry. Okay, so here's what I want to say. I agree with this for the most part. we know that Brock Purdy, the reason Brock Purdy's the starter is not based off of what happens in camp. It's because of what happened in games, right?
Yeah.
So same thing for Sam Darnold. I agree. He could be amazing in camp. I don't know. I don't know camp reports from other teams and where he's been. He could be amazing in camp. But what we do know is in games, we've seen enough to know that he's not the guy we would prefer to see play. So even if him and Trey are like this, you probably should go with the guy that you invested 3 first-round picks in and
The young
you
guy.
don't know a lot about. That's my opinion. With Purdy, if Purdy has a bad camp, unless he's injured or something crazy happens, he should be the starter because he proved it in games. So if he has a bad camp and Trey has an elite camp, Purdy's probably still the starter. So I agree with that. Agree. It goes both ways. Like if somebody can earn the job based off of being a starter the year prior, then we know that Sam Darnold's not great in games. So who cares what the F he's doing in practice?
Can I ask this? This is something I just want to. I know we got to keep it moving, but I don't necessarily agree with everyone that Sam Darnold beat Trey Lance. I mean, I guess if you're looking statistically, but to me, Sam Darnold threw a bad pass. Trey Lance threw a bad pass. Trey Lance had a really nice throw, the best throw of the camp, and you think Sam Darnold had the second best throw of the camp.
I think so.
I think it was just different opportunities, and they both did about the same with the opportunities they had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like, oh man, that's just me. So
yeah,
if there's other people that saw it different, by all means, that's why you take in content from everybody. Mr. G says Trey got first team reps with the backup wide receivers and first team defense, while Sam Darnold had number one wide receiver, second team defense. Is that true? Hopefully we answered your questions, Mr. G, earlier when we were given the context. You asked this about 20 minutes ago, so I'm pretty sure we did. He definitely played with the first string wide receivers a lot more, but I can't say it was for sure the second team defense because the defense is rotating in and out every time. And same thing again with Trey. He certainly wasn't playing with first string wide receivers. He was playing with Kittle quite a bit, and the defense is rotating in and out. So I'm sure that they both played against first, second, and third string players all up and down the defense. So I'm not, yes, he was the second man up, if you want to call that first and second team, but they're rotating in and out so much that that's not the way that I saw it play out fully. Sean says, I think Trey is being punished for the Jeff Christensen and the perception it had. 49ers are now sending a message. Let's see the development, Trey, with minimal reps and coaching. I hope that's not the case. Yeah. I'm not going to make that's.
I don't buy into this.
That's an allegation. I can't go there.
I think the 49ers like Trey Lance, man. I really do. I don't buy into this national narrative stuff that we've been hearing.
Yeah, Mike Drops with Monster says, what position is Poe playing? Is Kalia Davis on with the twos? I'll pay attention to that more with pads. I think with pads, I'm going to worry more about offensive and defensive linemen than I did today because without pads, it's really hard. It really is. Drake Jackson, again, getting out and running with Mitchell. I don't care if that's pads or not. He's doing something special there. So that's worth noting. But I definitely Mic Drops with Monza. And I know you asked me in spaces and I said I'm not going to do anything different. That is one thing actually I will be doing different tomorrow is paying more attention to those battles because I want to see, McKivitz against Jackson, those types of things. And with pads, you're going to get some of that context. So I will be looking at that.
I will tell you that much.
He what?
He is stout. He's built like
he is.
Yeah.
Greg T says, Jesse, you going to do some travel vlogs too? Food? No, I'm not. Grant's a whole personality, man. That's not me. Definitely not. And I don't. Also, I'm self-conscious. I don't want people like staring at me eating. That's just weird. I can't do it. 209er says, Jay, make sure you get your pig in a pickle. Nice. Ink Talk TV says Purdy equals Foles. I think this is a pure fan hype. It'll be exposed. The bad part is that it'll cost us some important games. Trey will come in and save us.
I'm looking forward to seeing Brock tomorrow. Maybe. I haven't seen him yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Papa Phil says, sorry I'm late. How can it be fair QB comp when Trey hasn't played with any of the starters? Yeah, I mean, again, there was no CMC today. That was a little disappointing, but there was no CMC, no Trent Williams, but then there was also some defensive players not playing. Charvarius Ward, I think, got in for a snap, maybe. Eric Armstead was for sure in for a snap. I think that was it. I didn't see Javon Hargrave out there. So, it goes both ways to a certain extent. So it would be nice to see him build some of that chemistry with CMC for sure, and just see how it looks. But like I said, it's on both sides. So I'm not, again, especially when Trey had a good day, I'm not going to sit here and try to paint it as, oh, Trey's really getting screwed here. And it's just, these are things that I noticed and I felt like they should be pointed out. So
Yeah.
hopefully people enjoy the context, know what it is, and know that definitely, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Sam. I thought he had a good day. I thought Trey had a good day, and that's good that both of them played well, and we'll see how it goes with pads, and we'll see how it goes with Purdy on the field.
I know we got to get out of here, but one thing I shared on Twitter, I think it's good to share with the fan base because we're all like people are on a Purdy camp or a Trey camp. But Purdy was warming up in a black shirt, no number, right before practice, and then once practice started, Brock Purdy came up to Trey Lance, gave him 5, and you could tell he was yelling at him like, "Let's go!" like pumping him up. And I thought that was great to see, man. Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, they're friends, man. They get along, they support each other, and I thought it was good for the fan base to hear that.
No, that's really good because I know that you pointed that out first thing. You're like, hey, did you notice that, and I didn't catch it. I was looking at the defense because the defense was closest to us and the offense was warming up on the far field. And then when it came to 11 on 11s, they were all right next to us. But so I was paying attention to the defense and you're like, hey, you see Brock Purdy kind of dap him up and kind of like pump him up like, hey, let's have a good day, like go out there and kill it. So I thought that was really cool. Again, the fan base is certainly split, but these guys clearly are friends. So when you hear Trey and Brock say it, that's not lip service. You saw that play out on the field, and I think that's a great point. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
All right, y'all. I think, hold on. I think we got one more super chat. Cut 2 more. I'm going to get these in. No more super chats, please. Really got to go. Frank Tom Ocean says, smash the likes on the way out. I appreciate you, man. And then Cryptic says, any notable injuries, healthy camp so far? No injuries. That's also a good thing. Should have reported that as well. Everybody's healthy. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Talk soon. Peace.